You know, guys, I gotta say, I was in a pretty good mood today. An uncharacteristically good mood for a change. And I had a pep in my step until I sat down and watched this episode, and things got very somber very quickly, because this is quite a heavy episode, I gotta admit. But it also is showing us that, not everything's going to be positive in this show, Everything's not sunshine and rainbows. This is the harsh realities that are happening in this world. So, I certainly wasn't expecting it today, but I thought it was quite a good episode nonetheless. So let's get into it and talk about Trigun Stampede episode 5 today, because it's a roller coaster, alright. Now, our episode today very heavily centers on religion and the implications that it can have on people. As we hear, we sinners were cast upon this land when the ark crashed. Now pray, and God shall send the angel of salvation our way. Praise the angel, honor the angel, become the angel's eyes. And it's here we see a young boy praying. Now, remember this boy, because we will see him a lot in this episode as we progress through, and it will be something for sure. But it's here we transition to the crew as they're just going down the road, heading to Jula, and they're listening to the same religious radio as Meryl just tells Roberto flat out, "Yo, can we change this station? You're kind of killing the vibe, Roberto." As she asks him what it is they're even listening to, and he tells her that this is the station for the Church of Plant Worshippers. You could say they're a newly established sect. I hear they've got a headquarters in Jula, funny enough. But it's here all of a sudden, as he's telling her this, that Meryl slams on the brakes and the car suddenly stops. As she actually goes and runs out to go see the carcass of a dead insect out in the middle of the desert. And as they're approaching it, Wolfwood tells them that this thing was killed with one strike, and it was barehanded. As he tells everyone that this thing's been dead for a long while. But it's here all of a sudden. We just see Vash staring off into the distance at what appears to be this destroyed town. As Wolfwood asks him, "What's up?" But Vash doesn't say anything and just starts walking towards the town as they all follow him there on foot. But it's here we actually transition back to the boy praying as he asks his mother, "Why does God eat the sacrificed children?" As she tells him to bring blessings, of course. As the boy tells her, "If you get eaten though, you're dead." And she tells him, "That's not the end, it's the beginning. Going to heaven is a wonderful thing, son. Remember this. This is very culty. Very, very culty. Remember this scene." Because it's here, as we transition back to everyone else, we see as they get into the town that it's deserted. As Wolfwood says, "Check it out. They don't even have a plant here." As Roberto tells him, "They used to spin that to make power, I bet," as he points to a giant windmill. As Wolfwood asks, "So what happens if there's never any wind?" As Roberto tells him, it would mean a prolonged power outage, like we're clearly seeing happening right now. And it's here we just see Vash walk off again, clearly troubled by something. And as we're seeing him walking his way throughout the town, all of a sudden, he gets shot at like crazy and has to take evasive maneuvers. And it's here that all of a sudden, we see a giant, I guess you'd say monster at this point, come crashing down and shout Vash's name. And this guy he literally looks like Bane from Batman, but with machine gun hands. It's kind of wild looking. As Wolfwood takes his cross out and says, "What are you doing sitting there, dude? We gotta go. We gotta get out of here." As Roberto realizes that this big guy knows Vash, huh? And it's here as we see the giant monster chasing them down. Vash tells Meryl and Roberto, "Hide in the house. He's only after me." And it's here as Vash and Wolfwood are running. Wolfwood actually trips and falls, but in the process is able to get behind the monster as he shoots at it, and it does absolutely nothing. And it's here as those two are separated, we see that the monster actually corners Vash into an alley. And as the monster starts shooting at him, Vash actually shoots the pipes above him and has them come crashing down on him, crushing him. And it's here we see Vash actually run over and pull the debris off of him as he says, Alright, thank goodness, you're still alive. And it's here as the monster gets up and is about to shoot Vash again. Wolfwood comes and saves him. As he asks him, what are you doing? Are you trying to get killed right now? We gotta run for right now. And as they're running off, we see the monster literally inject himself with some serum like Bane, and we see that the gunshot wounds are healing. And it's here as we see that the two of them got away, at least for the moment. Wolfwood tells him, you dumbass. I've had it with your insufferable do-gooder routine. As Vash tells him, what can I say? I was worried that might have been the end of him. As Wolfwood tells him, you know, someone ought to end you one of these days. As Vash tells him, man, that's pretty savage, man. But it's here we get a little more serious as Wolfwood tells him, alright, that's enough playing dumb. You knew about this village, didn't you? As he asks Vash, what happened here? As Vash tells him, I don't really know either, but we'll get back to that train of thought, because it's here we transition back to the boy as he comes home and overhears his mother talking to other people in the town. As we hear, hey, did you already talk to Rollo? And someone tells his mother, or his mother says, no, it's too hard for me to do that. As she's told, I understand, but we all got over it. As they say, think of it this way. Your child born on a windless day is finally getting his blessing. It's a wonderful thing. As his mother says, you're right. When Rollo comes home, I'll let him know that he's been chosen as the sacrifice. And upon hearing this, naturally, he's terrified by what he hears. And he actually runs out the house into the desert. And as we see him running, he trips and falls. As we suddenly hear, are you all right? As we see Vash standing there and he says, I finally found you. Are you Rollo? And at this point, the pieces are starting to come together, and not in a good way. And as Vash is walking with Rollo, he says, your mother asked me to find you. You ran away from home, huh? As the kid asks him, you must be Vash the Stampede, right? As Vash says, you know about me? And the kid says, yeah, you're famous. They call you the humanoid typhoon. You're a walking natural disaster, a demon that causes mayhem. And as he suddenly starts coughing, he tells Vash, you know, I'm sick. They say I'm gonna die before I grow up. Maybe God won't save me because I don't believe in him. And as they make it back to town, he tells Vash that there's no wind here, and everyone's suffering because of it. As he says, that's why I'm next. And as the boy's running back to his house because he doesn't have a choice, he asks Vash, was my mom worried? And he tells him, yes, very much so. As Vash tells him, if you need help, remember me. I promise I'll be there for you. If God won't save you, I will. But as we see the boy go to his mom, we all know that's not what ended up happening. And it's here as we transition back to Vash and Wolfwood, he tells him, by the time I got my hands on some medicine and returned, Rollo was already gone. As Wolfwood says, so you talked a big game about saving him, but you couldn't follow through, huh? And as the monster finds them again, they get ready to fight. But it's here, before we can get into this fight, we have to peel the layers back even more on exactly what happened. And it's not exactly good. As we see the boy, when he's home, walks into this building, as we see that the doctor is there waiting for him. As the boy asks him, are you God? And the doctor tells him, the man you praise as God is not here right now. As they grab the boy and forcefully inject the serum into his neck. And as they drag this boy off, fire blaring from the lantern he dropped, he asks the young girl with him, are you a sacrifice too? And she tells him, me? Yeah, right. I'm an angel. As we see the windmill burning down. And it's in this scene that things are going to get a little rough. As we transition to a lab and we see that the boy is strapped down on the table. As the doctor tells him this drug will rebuild and strengthen your body at the cellular level. as well as accelerate your metabolism to the extreme. If you can adapt to it, it should cure your illness. Of course, there'll be some side effects, but at the very least, it won't be the illness that kills you. And as the serum starts taking effect, we see Rollo screaming in agony as he says, "I don't want to die. Help me, Vash." But his cries fall on deaf ears as we see that the monster was actually Rollo the entire time. And it's here as we transition back to Vash and Wolfwood, we see that Rollo is easily able to knock out Wolfwood. And as we transition back to the doctor, he's describing all the heinous things he did to him as he says, the implant in his brain will heighten his emotions, leading to accelerated development of athletic abilities. Hatred is a poison to the soul. He's the first to survive for 5 whole years. But it's here the girl has to burst his bubble and says, he'll just end up another failure. And this is quite a tough scene, I have to say. It really showcases that there is no salvation in this world whatsoever. People don't get saved. That's not anything that happened. You're dealt the hand you're dealt, and you do what you can with it. It's a very tough scene. Really showcasing that this is a cruel world and that Vash is one of the only shining stars left in it. But it's here we transition to a very interesting scene, actually, as Meryl and Roberto happen to stumble upon Rollo's old house. Unknowingly, of course, as Roberto says, looks like it's been this way for a while, maybe 20 years. And as Meryl's looking around, she happens to find a photo and says, "What is this?" And upon closer inspection, we see that it's Vash in there, looking like he's holding Rollo as a baby. As Meryl asks Roberto, "Isn't this Vash?" Now this scene's very interesting in multiple ways because allegedly this was 20 years ago. Yet Rollo didn't seem to recognize Vash when they met before, and he doesn't seem to have aged in that time. So what does this mean, I wonder? We'll have to figure that out later. And it's here as we transition back to Vash. He's trying desperately to get Rollo to remember who he was. As Wolfwood says, it's no use. He's just a monster now. As he swings one of his arms at Vash, misses and breaks the mechanical parts off of it, as he uses his arm to actually grab him and slam him into the wall multiple times. As Vash tells him, "Rollo, I'm sorry. I promised you, but I wasn't there. I'm so sorry I'm late. I'm here to keep my word. You won't be alone anymore." But it's here we see Wolfwood down what appears to be a healing potion, I guess, as he takes his cross and shoots Rollo in the head. As Vash tries to reach for him, but he can't grab him, as we see Rollo crash into the ground below. And it's here as we see everyone gathered around the body. We see that Rollo is for sure dead. And as we see Vash begging for him to get back up, Wolfwood says, "That's enough. He's dead." As Vash yells at him, "Why'd you shoot him?" as he grabs him by the collar, but Wolfwood tells him, "Mercy. There's no way to return his humanity. Keeping him alive is torture." As Vash tells him, "That's not for you to decide." But he counters back and tells him, "Your hypocrisy's showing. You're the one saying things you can't even make good on. At best, it's all talk." And it's here to add insult to injury. The wind starts blowing in this moment. And it's here as we transition back to the doctor. He realizes that Rollo has died. As the girl tells him, "How convenient. Saves you the trouble of getting rid of a failure." As we see that Zazi's actually working with them too, as he tells them, "Well, it was another of the doctor's creations that took him out." As the girl says, "Oh, right. Nicholas was the one that did it. Wolfwood is a creation of the doctor as well. Or at the very least, working with them." As the doctor calls him the Punisher. And in our final scene of the episode, the final sad cherry on top. As they're driving away, we see all the lights come back on in the city. And with that, our episode ends. And this was quite a bittersweet episode, I have to admit. And also interesting at the same time, because apparently from the context of what I saw in this episode, Vash is apparently much older than he appears to be. And I don't remember too much of the original, but I do remember that playing a part into it. And I need to go back and watch the original because I'm having a hard time differentiating what's different and what's changed. But like I said, this was quite a heavy episode that, again, showcases that this is a very harsh world. You know, this ain't a happy world in the slightest. People are struggling to survive, and sometimes they don't survive. Or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain. Thank you, Batman. But you guys let me know what you thought of this episode down below. It was a heavy one, but it was still quite a good one. So I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. But until next time, guys, I hope you have a great day, week, month, and year. And until then, deuces, have a blessed day. I'll see you guys next time.